I was out of commission late last week when Felcher did this live stream, and I didn't know what the hell. I knew one of these movies on this list, and it was Angel of Heat, which I totally forgot what the fuck it even was. I forgot the name and everything.
Hmm.
But he was running the gamut on titles that people have been wanting, at least a couple of them that people have been for years and years and years on our streams and everything. And he just bombarded everybody with this list of stuff that's coming. You know, some of it next year, I think some of it later on this year.
Hmm.
And did that surprise you out of the blue? Like, were you watching it live? I wasn't watching it live because I
No.
was out. I was not in town or anything. I was in
So
Lexington. So,
it's actually kind of funny because I had an idea of Fright Night 2. I kind of knew it was being worked on, but I didn't know that it was going to be something he was going to drop. Like I thought this was going to be like, it's 2 years in the making. We're not going to talk about it until we get moving on it. But I had a general idea that this was going to happen. I just didn't know when. With that movie, it's always like you hear things, but you never really want to believe it until you see it, kind of thing. Um, but yeah, it wasn't. I had no clue he was going to do that. I was working on Thursday night, and I kept getting DMs and all these messages and stuff, and I didn't really look at my IG. I just saw like a lot of people coming through, but then I got a couple texts and people like, "Oh, like, did you see what Slippy did?" and da 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 da. And so on my way home from work, I watched it, like a replay of it or whatever. And I saw him announce all those titles. So I came home and did a video on it because I'm just like, oh my God, I've got to jump on this news. I mean, this is insanity that he just went on Facebook and was like, oh yeah, we're doing all these. And they were all like legit, like titles that a lot of companies I'm sure were after for a long time. And I don't know. I think it's awesome. I think if he can pull this off and give us, some more of these like trick or treat type editions with some of these titles, like he's just moved himself way up the ladder in the boutique department. I'll tell you that much.
yeah, I mean, it seems like he's definitely, he's in it, man. That's for sure. It's not a, you're wondering how does he top Trick or Treats. I don't know if Fright Night 2 tops it, but it's definitely right up there with, I mean, titles that have never gotten that big special edition treatment. And a lot of people were excited about it. Also, Prom Night 2 is a big one as well. And he not only announced two, but he announced three and four. Do you go ahead? To me, it makes more sense to just do a box set of all of those because Synapse already has the first one.
Right. So because Synapse and them are working together, he did mention that the box set was a thought that they were considering doing the box set. His only issue is he is originally Prom Night 2 is supposed to be sooner. Like I think this year, perhaps the end of this year, maybe he would like to get this out. 3 and 4 would be after that. So it becomes a thing. Does he wait and hold off everything and do a big box set? Or he had mentioned that Synapse is also considering or probably upgrading their prom night to 4K, which I'm sure if they do that, they're going to match the aesthetic of what he's doing. I'm
Mm-hmm.
sure of it. And he said something about like instead of having people wait for part 2, why doesn't he just release part 2 first, release part 3 and 4 together, and then as an option giving you a box to house everything in? And I think that is a great idea because number one, everybody's going to buy part 2. Um, it gives an incentive for people to buy the sequels 3 and 4. 3 and 4 aren't as loved as much as part 2, but all of a sudden now you're like, well, wait a minute. Okay, if I buy part 2, now I can get number 1 again in 4K to match this. Then I can get 3 and 4, and then I'm also going to have an option to buy a box to just slide them all in. And for me as a collector, I like when franchises are all housed together. So that's just something that I like. So I would make sure I bought all of them plus the box to feel like I have the complete set, and it might be a good incentive for people to rebuy Prom Night again. and to maybe, assure that people are going to get 2 and that are going to get 3 and 4, because they're not going to sell as easy as the other one will.
No, 3 and 4 is going to be the issue. That's why I would say just offer it in the box set, or when everything comes out, have it available to buy all together. I mean, I don't know what the timetable is on Prom Night 2 versus Prom Night 3 and 4, but 3 and 4 is the tough one, man. It's almost like whenever Scream Factory did that Halloween box set with Six, H2O, and Resurrection. A lot of people knew that they couldn't probably sell Resurrection by itself. I mean, they could,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't think too many people would buy it.
Yeah, I agree. It's going to be tough. And you're wondering if he's going to do them separately or if he's going to do like a split package, kind of like they did with the DVD. It seems like when he talked about it, he was doing the singles. But yeah, I don't know much about that set. I do know that I'm sure him and Synapse are going to work together to make this some kind of box set collection type thing. Either if it's going to be with an extra box or they're going to wait and do it all together. It would be a good incentive no matter what if they did a box set, because people will buy the box set just to get 2 in there. So
I'm wondering, like, since he had so much aggravation with the Trick or Treat set, why do you go ahead and announce something that's still more than a year out?
I think it's
You're
just
just
to get
asking for it.
I think it's just to get his name out there, to be like, hey, look what we did. And we're a player. It wasn't going to be Trick or Treat and it's over. I think he was just putting his foot down and being like, okay, all these people are announcing shit all the time. Here's what I got, but I'm not going to give you a date because that got me in trouble last time. But it's good to know that these are coming. So I'm fine. I'm happy he did it for me, because at least it's like, okay, Fright Night 2 seems like it's going to happen. It's not going to be just talk, because he won't say it if he didn't have that thing locked down. Because if all of a sudden he loses the rights for some reason, it's not going to look good for him.
Right.
So I'm sure that he made sure all his T's were crossed and his I's were dotted before he opened his mouth about that. But better off him not saying a date, even though people don't want to wait till 2026, because who knows how long this is going to take him.
Now, the other side of that, though, that I want to mention to you, the announcement of Fright Night Part 2, that kind of closes the chapter on like a lot of the more sought after horror titles. And as far as the overall, business, physical media business, how do you see, like, how do these companies keep going? Like 5 years down the road, what's left? Like, that's the thing that I'm kind of concerned about, because you're seeing more and more of these retail stores, like Target now, they're the next one.
Mm-hmm.
Last Target I went into, no physical media at all. It had vinyl records, I think that was it.
Mm-hmm. That's a tough one, man. I did a video on that. I'm trying to think of what I even said, but talking about like 20 movies that I want to see upgraded, and it was movies that I think I made a criteria of that I owned on either DVD or VHS that haven't got any cool treatment. And I was able to talk about 20 to 25 titles, and that was just in the horror genre. I mean, I'm still, we're still talking about other things that I love, like that would deserve a cool addition, something like Encino Man or something like that. But from the horror standpoint, it is closing a big chapter, I think, on some of the most sought after stuff. There's obviously other things out there, such as, like, for me, Summer Camp Nightmare, which I talk about all the time. That's a big one for me. Run's a big one. Elves, like off the top of my head. These are big ones. The problem is these aren't universally loved.
Right. Those aren't big
movies.
Ones.
Right.
Yeah.
These are just like Vinegar Syndrome could release any of these next week, or TerraVision, and people not really go that crazy over it. But as far as a big one, man, I don't know. I don't know. Elm Street, I guess, is probably the next big one
But that's
we
coming.
need.
I mean, we know
Coming.
that one's this year at some point. And
after some of these editions, I've got to be done. Like after this Fright Night, like what else would there ever be to do?
Well, the thing is too that I'm noticing more, and there's a lot of studios doing it. You got Scream Factory, you got Kino, you got Arrow, is essentially just re-releases of stuff that they already previously put out, same artwork, same extras and everything, and it's just a 4K upgrade. Like, and I love Kino, but man, like career opportunities in 4K. Do you really need that movie in 4K? I love
No.
it. Jennifer Connelly, 18-year-old Jennifer Connelly, however old she was. Sure, but I mean, some of these movies, man, like, I'm done. Like, I don't have any interest in upgrading stuff like that in 4K. You know, I'm guessing that they're thinking, oh, there's a bunch of people out there that still don't have that. They'll just get the 4K. But I can't imagine people just rebuying it just to upgrade movies like that in 4K.
You'd be surprised, man. You'd be surprised. And I've come out and kind of said something very similar. It's like, in a lot of situations, like, I'm just done now. Like, I can't keep doing the same thing over and over again. And I see someone mentioned, Mayor just said Dead Alive. That's a big one. That's a huge one. That's probably one of the biggest still. Pieces on 4K. Mozart said, sure. I mean, I have a great Grindhouse Pieces Blu-ray edition. Am I going to really go after a 4K of Pieces? I don't know. Like, that's to me it could maybe. It have to be. It's just situational. Like, I mean, I think I have a really cool edition of it. Is there anything that's going to be way better than that? I don't know. But for most of these movies, it's like, I'm kind of done. Like, I don't see myself ever buying Rumpelstiltskin again, Trick or Treat. Like, these definitive editions are going to probably last me forever. So you're right. I don't know what we do. And I love Kino too, man, but can't tell you the last time I bought much from Kino, because it's the same thing. It's not only they upgrading their own titles, which I already have, but now they're basically just giving me everything I have from Scream Factory on 4K. Like, they just announced they were doing the Prog and C or whatever. It's like, okay, I have that on Blu-ray from Scream Factory. Do I need that in 4K? Probably not.
Well, if you're somebody like me that doesn't support Scream Factory, though,
that's true too, I guess.
Must
that's where it's hard, because I have everything they did up until, more recently. So all these movies are Graveyard Shift. Got it. I got that. Mm-hmm. It looks cool. The cover looks cool, but I mean, do I really need Graveyard Shift in 4K with a slight upgrade? Probably not.
Body Parts in 4K too, which that's not even that great of a movie, okay. Really. It's all right, but I mean, the 4K upgrade of something like that, it's just strange.
I think that people are just they're upgrading their own stuff, and I think they're passing around licenses, right? So like Kino's like, oh, I got this, so we're gonna put it out, So that's kind of what's going on too, is that I think the licenses are just switching over. So all these other companies are like giving it a shot to like put it out under their label. Because I mean, they literally the Kino's literally putting out like all Scream Factory stuff from a couple of years.
Well, and Arrow is just re-releasing like stuff that they already did, and it's the exact same artwork and everything. It's just a 4K version of it.
Criterion's doing the same. I mean, you're looking at these other companies too, like Second Sight is just, as soon as one company announces something, 2 weeks later, they're like, oh, we're doing this. Like, they're putting out House of the Devil. Umbrella just did it. Like,
wonder why they're doing that on Blu-ray, though.
It's got to be something, because Umbrella did on Blu-ray, too. So there has to be a reason that these companies can't do the 4K. I'm thinking, like, why wouldn't you at least make it 4K, saying, well, Arrow just put this out in a really nice edition on Blu-ray, and let's try to outdo that with 4K. Instead, they're just saying, is our cover cooler? Because if it is, come by.
Man, I'm going to go back and look at who did the first one. Was it Dark Sky?
Dark Sky did it, yes.
I don't remember that Blu-ray looking bad at all. I actually remember it looking really good.
It doesn't look bad. It looks fine.
So
I don't know what the deal is with it, though. I never bought the Umbrella one, and I love that movie. I have it on VHS, DVD, and Blu-ray, and that's all I got. I didn't upgrade it. I love it, but if it's a similar restoration, then I mean, I'm not going to jump on it.
I want all these people to click everything they're supposed to click.
You haven't been liking them, you haven't been subscribing to them, you haven't clicked the bell or notification or anything like that.
Folks, why don't you click the like button?
Do you hate us? Do you not want to see us succeed?
Why don't you click the heart button?
Is this something that you have against our particular show?
Why don't you subscribe?
You should click on one of them buttons right now if you want us to continue to bring greatness into your life.
There's all kinds of wonderful shirts over at shop.deadpit.com. Simply the best horror shirts. On TeePublic, there are others, but they all suck. You can get some Dead Pit Radio shirts. You can get Last South on the Left. The Hills Have Eyes. Texas Chainsaw. Oh, wait, you can't say Texas Chainsaw. All kinds of shirts, folks. You're gonna love them. Shop.deadpit.com.
Special thanks goes out to our supporters on Patreon. You know what kind of stuff you can get on Patreon, Uncle Bill, starting at only $1 a month?
What's that?
Access to every Dead Pit show since 2005. We got almost 200 fan commentaries that we've done over the decades.
Here's what other fucking Patreons do. They're like, hey, give us money and then we'll let you see a video early that we're going to release like a fucking week from now, and then that's all we're going to give you. Meanwhile, we have a literal jukebox full of songs, thousands of reviews. I don't even know how many shows are up on there now that we've done over the years.
Hundreds of thousands.
You need to figure this out now and subscribe to us on Patreon and YouTube and Instagram. And help us to 1 million. The road to 1 million subscribers starts today.
So Dead Pit on Patreon.com. Join today. Tiers start at only $1, but I'd recommend at least the $10 tier.
You can do 50. The stock market's crashing around us, folks, but send us money.